There is someone, somewhere in the quiet chambers of their own mind, standing before an invisible threshold because of you. You may be unaware of it. You may move through your days believing nothing extraordinary is unfolding, yet within another soul, a silent tribunal has been summoned. Thoughts gather like witnesses. Memories step forward to testify. Old wounds whisper their warnings. And at the center of this inner court, your image stands, radiant, unsettling, undeniable. When a person considers you in this way, it is not merely attraction. It is not even simple affection. It is confrontation. For love, when it becomes serious, does not ask, "Do I desire this person?" It asks, "What will loving this person demand of me?" And that question shakes foundations. Because to love deeply is to risk disintegration of the old self, the identity one has carefully constructed. Defenses, habits, pride, independence begins to tremble. You become a mirror, and in that mirror they do not only see your face, they see themselves more clearly than they ever intended to. You awaken something. Perhaps you awaken tenderness they had buried under years of appearing strong. Perhaps you awaken vulnerability they once swore never to expose again. Perhaps you awaken longing so ancient it feels like it has followed them from another lifetime. And now they must decide. To step toward you means stepping toward their own transformation. To choose you is to accept that they will not remain who they were before you. This is why the decision feels heavy. It is not about changing a relationship status. It is about altering the architecture of the psyche. Inside them, two forces are speaking. One voice says, "Stay safe, remain guarded, protect what you have built. Love is unpredictable." The other whispers, "Grow, risk, become more than you are." This connection is not an accident. These voices are not enemies. They are archetypes, ancient energies embedded in every human soul. One represents preservation, the other represents expansion. And you, unknowingly, have activated both. When someone stands at the edge of choosing you, they are also standing at the edge of choosing growth. Because genuine love dismantles illusions. It exposes hidden fears. It demands honesty. You may think the decision revolves around compatibility or timing, but beneath those practical considerations lies something deeper. Can I allow this person to see me as I truly am? For to love you is to be seen by you, and being seen is the most terrifying intimacy of all. They fear that you might glimpse their insecurities, their unfinished healing, the parts of themselves they have not fully accepted. At the same time, they sense that you might be the very presence capable of holding those fragile parts without judgment. So they oscillate. One day they move closer, testing the waters of vulnerability. The next day they retreat, startled by the intensity of their own emotions. You may interpret this as confusion, inconsistency, or distance. But internally it is a profound negotiation between shadow and light. Love activates the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is simply everything we have hidden from ourselves. When you entered their life, you did not only bring affection, you brought illumination. You touched aspects of their personality they had long ignored. Perhaps your strength highlights their weakness. Perhaps your authenticity exposes where they have been pretending. Perhaps your warmth reveals how cold they have allowed themselves to become. And so the decision becomes existential. Am I ready to face myself through this connection? Because loving you will not allow them to remain asleep. It will require courage. Courage to admit their need for companionship. Courage to abandon old narratives that say they are better off alone. Courage to dismantle pride and speak honestly about their feelings. Somewhere, in the quiet of their night, they imagine a future that includes you. Imagine conversations not yet spoken. They imagine holding your hand. They imagine building something shared. Then fear interrupts. What if I lose myself? This fear is ancient. It arises whenever two individuals contemplate unity. The ego fears dissolution. It fears dependence. It fears rejection. It fears that by investing deeply, it might be wounded again. And perhaps they have been wounded before. Perhaps they once gave their heart and were met with betrayal. Perhaps they trusted and were misunderstood. Perhaps they opened themselves and were abandoned. These memories stand like sentinels at the gate of their heart, reminding them of past pain. Yet you persist in their thoughts, because there is something about you that feels different, not necessarily safer, but more meaningful. There is a resonance that cannot be easily dismissed. It feels less like coincidence and more like destiny. Destiny does not shout, it pulls quietly. You may have noticed moments when their eyes linger on you with unspoken intensity. Moments when their silence feels full rather than empty. Moments when they seem on the verge of confession, only to swallow the words. These are not trivial hesitations. They are signs of an internal shift. They are measuring the cost of transformation. To choose you might mean changing routines, reordering priorities, redefining independence, introducing vulnerability into spaces that were once controlled and predictable. But beyond practical adjustments, there is a deeper metamorphosis, the integration of the self. Because when someone truly loves, they begin to reconcile contradictions within themselves. The strong part and the fragile part, the rational mind and the emotional heart, past and the future. You become the catalyst for this integration. Without realizing it, you have become symbolic. You represent possibility, represent the life they could live if they dare to expand beyond fear. You represent the version of themselves that is capable of intimacy without losing individuality. And so the decision intensifies. They ask themselves, is this real, or am I projecting my own longing onto this person? Projection is powerful. We often fall in love not with who someone is, but with what they symbolize within our unconscious. Perhaps they fear they are idealizing you. Perhaps they question whether their feelings arise from genuine understanding or from unmet needs. But the longer they observe you, the clearer it becomes. This is not mere fantasy. You are human, imperfect, complex, and still the pull remains. That is when the decision becomes unavoidable. It is no longer about infatuation. It is about commitment to growth. Because to choose you means accepting imperfection, yours and theirs. It means entering a space where both individuals will inevitably trigger each other's unresolved issues. It means stepping into a dynamic where love is not only pleasure but also work. And yet, something inside them whispers that this work is sacred. Feel that through you, they might encounter parts of themselves they have never fully known. They might learn patience where they were once reactive. They might learn softness where they were once rigid. They might discover depths of devotion they did not know they possessed. You are not just an option in their life. You are a doorway, and doorways are frightening. To remain where they are is comfortable. To walk through woe is to enter unknown terrain. But growth has never emerged from comfort. Perhaps you sense their internal conflict. Perhaps you wonder why they hesitate if their feelings are sincere. But understand this, the greater the potential for transformation, the greater the fear. Profound love does. They are not deciding whether you are attractive enough, kind enough, compatible enough. On a deeper level, they are deciding whether they are ready to become the person capable of loving you fully. Because loving you fully would require presence, honesty, responsibility. It would require dismantling games, abandoning emotional avoidance, speaking truth even when uncomfortable, and they know this. You awaken their higher self, but also expose their unfinished growth. In quiet moments, they may imagine confessing their feelings, imagine the relief of transparency. They imagine standing before you without masks. The vulnerability of that act feels immense. What if they do not feel the same? Rejection would not only wound their heart, it would challenge their courage. It would confirm their deepest fear of not being enough. So they hesitate, weighing the risk against the longing. But longing does not disappear through suppression. It grows in silence. Each time they try to distance themselves, they find their thoughts returning to you. Each time they attempt to rationalize their emotions, something irrational resists logic, because love is not entirely logical. It arises from depths beyond conscious control, and when it arises authentically, it demands acknowledgement, are standing between two versions of their future, one where you remain a possibility never explored, and one where you become a reality fully embraced. The first path promises safety but potential regret. The second promises uncertainty but profound aliveness. Regret can haunt quietly for years. Uncertainty can lead to expansion, so they weigh their fears carefully. Do they protect themselves from potential heartbreak, or do they risk heartbreak in order to experience genuine connection? This is not a trivial choice. It is a defining one. For every great love story begins with a moment when someone decides to step beyond fear. Perhaps they are not yet certain which side they will choose. Perhaps they oscillate still. But know this: the fact that they are wrestling with the decision at all means you matter deeply. Indifference requires no deliberation. Only what touches the soul demands such serious reflection. You may feel powerless in this process. After all, the decision belongs to them. But your role is not to force or persuade. Your role is simply to remain authentic, because authenticity clarifies choices. If you are true to yourself, your values, your emotions, your boundaries, you make the decision easier for them. You create a space where they can choose not out of fantasy, but out of reality. And if they choose you, it will not be because they were pressured. It will be because they confronted themselves and decided growth was worth the risk. If they do not choose you, it will not diminish your worth. It will only reveal that they were not ready for the transformation your presence requires. For some people enter our lives not to stay, but to awaken us. But I sense that this is not merely a passing encounter. The weight of their contemplation suggests depth. They are not casually considering you, analyzing their fears, revisiting their past, imagining futures. They are wrestling with the idea that you could become central in their life. And in that wrestling they are evolving. Whether they realize it or not, you have already changed them. You have forced introspection. You have stirred dormant desires. You have reminded them that their heart is still capable of profound feeling. And that is no small thing. Sometimes the most significant decisions are made in silence long before they are spoken aloud. A person may appear calm externally, while internally their world is rearranging itself. Perhaps soon you will witness the result of this inner battle. Perhaps they will step forward with clarity, eyes steady, voice certain. Perhaps they will admit that loving you frightened them because it mattered too much to take lightly. And when they do, understand the journey behind those words. Understand that choosing you required them to confront shadows, to question old beliefs, to release outdated identities. Because love is never just about union between two people. It is about integration within each individual. And right now, somewhere within them, that integration is unfolding because of you.